Hello, this is Real Time TV. I'm so sorry y'all couldn't hear me. I want to know if y'all can hear me now. So I want to see if you guys can hear me on here. So to get back what I'm saying, we're gonna be doing a reaction to Cern. Cern is the world's largest Hardon uh, Collider. They are the world's largest one. I know I pronounced that word very much wrong, but forgive me. And CERN is not crackpot scientists. These people are world changers. In fact, they won a Nobel Prize. CERN scientists have also, they're the ones to create the WW dot, the World Wide Web. So they're not just anybody. They really are world changers. They're they consist of 28, 28 states, well, 23 member states of the European nation that help fund CERN. So that's a very big deal. I'm gonna wait for more people to get in so we could do the reaction of the video and we'll talk about it. And my theme is this the end? Is this the end? Is this part of the end of the end times? Do CERN play do they play a part in that? And that's what we want to know. So the video that we are watching is from End Time Productions. They brought that on, and the author that who is talking, the narrator on there is Tom Hearn. He has written a lot of books. In fact, he has warned us many a times about transhumanism. People laughed at it and thought he was just some crockpot um, saying this because he is a Christian. But all these things what this man said is coming to pass, and you can look at his books. He got a lot of books on Amazon dealing with this stuff. So say you guys need to check him out on that. So let's see if there's anyone in here. Before we start the broadcast. And another thing about CERN started in 2008. 2008 is when CERN actually started. So they actually started in 2008 is whenever it was turned on. And it was a big deal then. So what they're trying to do is find the God particle. That's not the real word of it. The real word of it is they're trying to find during the Big Bang, they want to know what was those particles that came out of the Big Bang. So they put protons inside the Hardron um, Collider. I know I'm tearing that word up, but he'll pronounce it better than I can. So they put protons in there because that was one of the building blocks of the Big Bang. So the few things that they put is the things that they know what was present during the Big Bang. And anything that comes out of it because it runs in a circle opposite, so they meet together like this and it goes like that. So whatever comes out of that, they can see. Now, I will say this: in 2008, CERN would have been was going to be sued because there was a scare that they would have created a black hole, but they won their court that they can go ahead and run their experiment, and that was that on that. So And another thing about CERN also had turned everything off for 2 years. They just turned it back on. So I want to say around 2018, I believe they turned it off because they said there was a few problems. They was having a few issues, and they recently turned it on. And when they turned it on this time, what they discovered was an X particle. Now, little is given about the X particle, but yes, if I could share that with you, I'm gonna let you be able to see that video also. So y'all just hold your horses. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started in just a moment. So just give me a moment and we're going to get this all started and we're gonna watch this video. So y'all hold on tight to watch this. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start the broadcast. We're going to look at the video. We're going to give a reaction to it. Sorry about that, guys. Give me one moment. Let me get that started. Sorry, just having a little issue, technical difficulties.
There is something more supernatural on the drawing board at Cern than what is being admitted. Even Adam Barker of Tech Bubble wrote of Cern a while back that with the LHC, Cern are expecting to find other dimensions and open portals to these dimensions. If you have the image of Stargate in your head right now, you're spot on. That's what he said. And then he went on to draw parallels to the biblical story of Jacob's ladder. Perhaps you remember the dream that says, "Behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it." Then Jacob wakes up from his sleep and he says, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." And he was afraid. And he says, "How awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven." Genesis 28. Now, this ladder, described in the first book of the Bible, describes something like a portal from heaven to earth through which God's angels, interdimensional and spiritual beings from another reality, were traveling. When Jacob wakes up, he refers to the location as a gate, much like today's trendy terms gateway or stargate. One of Cern's goals is to recreate Jacob's ladder, according to Barker, and to reopen a portal. Now, Sergio Bertolucci, who is the official director for research and scientific computing at Cern, he was asked a while back about this extra dimensional doorway by the register.
Let's stop it here. Um, Now the gateway. I don't know if many can remember the TV show that used to be the Stargate. So the Stargate normally talks about going to different dimensions, going to different worlds, and it was just a TV show. So the way the TV show was structured, it was government funded. The world didn't know about it, and these soldiers and scientists would work underground, and they had this round structure that they would walk through and go into different worlds. So it's not so far fetched that that TV show, and now we have this has come to pass. You know, everything that man desires in their mind and imagination, like the Bible said, man will do. So I just wanted to bring that to y'all. And the whole thing is mm, they're looking at going into portals. So I just want y'all to keep that in mind about the gateway. So I'm gonna put it back on for you guys to hear.
Register, which is a London and New York operated science and technology journal. And he didn't hesitate with an enlightening response. He said, "Yes, out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it." Now, prophecy in numerous parts of the Bible refer to a coming day when portals will be opened and spiritual entities are going to pass through and come to the earth. Now, if that's true, and if those verses are accepted for their literal meaning and not written off as some kind of poetic allegory, as some scholars have claimed, then the idea of Cern playing with gateways is a major concern.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
And if, as Cern claims, they're only out to explore space, time, matter, particles, and the origin of our known universe and planets from exclusively a scientific or Darwinian related perspective, if their agenda is unrelated to Bible prophecy entirely, then what is it with all this mystical symbolism that they knowingly are associating themselves with? Wouldn't it be more appropriate for them just to proudly display a polished statue of a particle or some artist depiction of the Big Bang instead of the statue of Shiva? For those who have not yet heard about this controversial piece of art that Cern proudly exhibits between buildings 39 and 40 near the main building of their operation, it stands as really the most visible and celebrated imagery behind their work, Shiva. This is the Hindu god of destruction.
Think about this for a while. Every company has a symbol that represents their company. Every company. And whatever symbol you pick, that's supposed to represent your company. They picked the statue of Shiva, which means destroyer of worlds. Now, they're scientists. Why not pick a symbol of science? Why not pick a symbol of protons? What molecules? Something that represents what they're doing. Something in science. Why something like this? Why that? Why that type of symbol that has nothing to do with science, and it's not a good symbol, a good god, if you want to take it like that, world destroyer. I really want you guys to look at this and see this and tell me what you see. So we're gonna go back in here and let this continue to play.
In 2004, the government of India, which has had a long-standing friendship with leaders behind the Cern project even before the completion of the Large Hadron Collider, they gifted Cern with this bronze work of an art depicting Shiva as Nataraja, the lord or sometimes king of the dance. This dance that Shiva performs in the sculpture is the one that provides the source of the creation cycle in Hindu mythology, the preservation of all life in existence and the termination of all life in existence. The Rudra Tandava is a dance that especially displays Shiva's sadistic personality as he rains down the ultimate destruction upon a weary planet. The plaque at the side beside the statue, however, reads in part, hundreds of years ago, Indian artists created visual images of dancing Shivas in a beautiful series of bronzes. In our time, physicists have used the most advanced technology to portray the patterns of the cosmic dance. The metaphor of the cosmic dance thus unifies ancient mythology, religious art, and modern physics. So, right there out in the open for all to see is a direct correlation between the Hindu perception of Shiva hundreds of years ago, which is the concept of destroyer that I explained a moment ago, and our time, unifying, quote, ancient mythology, religious art, and modern physics.
Something is going on. You think everything's a conspiracy. Everything is.
Additionally, and perhaps even more important, there's a significant section of Cern that is built upon the Saint Genus Poili, which is a commune in Ain, a department of France. In Roman times, the Saint Genus Poili was called Apaliacum, but the town and a temple were dedicated there in ancient times to Apollyon, the destroyer, the Sheba Horus, if you will. Apollyon is also the angel of the bottomless pit, referred to in Revelation 9:11. And then there is a connection between Cern and the Gothard-based tunnel, the GBT, which is the world's deepest and longest tunnel system, consisting of two parallel passages, each moving in a single direction on a single track. The GBT passes directly beneath St. Gothard's Pass, a strategic north-south corridor that connects northern and southern Switzerland. The connection to the Large Hadron Collider has to be made primarily because of the bizarre opening ceremony that was live streamed to the entire world on June 1, 2016, that included this highly occult, demonic dance with characterization, beginning with a call to unite the religions of the world by conducting an interfaith blessing of the tunnel beside a statue of St. Barbara, the patron saint of miners. Following the blessing at the statue of St. Barbara, the press, along with visiting dignitaries, also paid tribute to the 9 miners who had lost their lives during construction of the tunnel. Bodillo's southern portal provided the visiting dignitaries.
I want to come on. So, okay, so they're having a big ceremony to represent CERN, to represent what they found and what what was discovered. But what I don't understand, why all the pagan type of honoring. So you had a blessing from the Christianity. Then you have all these other pagan stuff, dancing, the man with the horns, the goat man, which is not is always made a reference of a devil, some type of devil. And then you have all these other weird type dancing. I understand about having a grand opening, but why like this? Why in this manner? I just want it to make sense. Why in this manner are we going to have almost like a worshiping, a ushering in something? So let's watch more. Let's see what is this.
Dignitaries, a disturbing parade, really, of miners, erotic dancers, zombies, fallen angels, all of whom were obeying the call of what they called the shepherd, whose yodels invoked the appearance of the event's infernal master of ceremonies, a goat man, portrayed by a young and energetic dancing male. This creature is shown with a Baphomet headdress, a goat demon's head, if you will, and a goat body costume with a hairy pelt. And then it had a formal tuxedo over the top. The imagery was
Ned, y'all able
heavily
to see?
evocative of the German and barbarian
Because I'm on
Christmas
already.
demon known as Krampus.
I'm already on.
Now, according to tradition,
I'm
Krampus
live now.
accompanies St. Nicholas on his midwinter rounds with the intent to
I
steal
sent you the
boys and
link.
girls, putting them into a basket carried on his back.
No,
Or
I
he
sent
may
it to your
decide
text
to
message.
beat them with branches for being naughty.
Yeah.
Maurice Bruce published a book on pre Christian Alpine traditions in 1958, and he had this to say about the half goat, half demon entity. There seems to be little doubt as to the true identity, for in no other form is the full regalia of the horned god of the witches so well preserved. The birch, apart from its phallic significance, may have a connection with the initiation rites of certain witch covens, rites which entailed binding and scourging as a form of mock death. The chains could have been introduced in a Christian attempt to bind the devil, but again, they could be a remnant of pagan initiation rites. Many show the goat man in formal dress and a tuxedo style cutaway formal coat and trousers, but with his usual horned goat face and always with his tongue extended. Now, this tongue out pose seems to be popular with ancient gods, whether they're Mayan, Hindu, Babylonian, Egyptian, Greek, or even British. For some reason, the coat of arms from the Prince of Wales supports both a lion and a unicorn with their tongues extended, for instance. More than likely, this tongue position represents sex magic, fornicating with fallen angels. The ancient symbol of the horned god, referenced by Maureen Bruce in the quote that I made a moment ago, it allows us to connect our goat demon from the opening ceremony at the GBT to Cern. Despite the fact that the Large Hadron Collider sits 3 to 4 hours down a twisty road from the location, the horn god's circular logic and passion for human depravity, Hernunos, as is sometimes called, or Cernunos, or the Green Man of British lore, simply had to make an appearance at this occult ceremony. Joseph Peck and I, and many other researchers, have written extensively regarding the in-game plans for tunneling beneath the earth and smashing atoms to smithereens as nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to open portals.
So we heard it. To open portals. So you're going under the earth. You're having this dance to a god that likes to destroy. Because Shiva represents world destroyer. And you said you want to bring all the religions there too to celebrate. But I see you celebrating more on the dark side. Now, the devil with the tongue out, that right there, and you see it after kids. I want y'all to notice something. What has been ushering lately? Weird things such as immoral things are now are after the kids now, having them to choose a sex when they're too young to even really know what's going on. Immoral things. What have they let out? Because we went from moral, no confusion of what it was. Then 2008, this opens up. 2016 is when they had that dance and the God with the tongue out. And what do you see? What do you see? Confusion. They're after our kids. You hear that all the time. So now they've ushered that in chaos, confusion. So I just want y'all to hear more from Mr. Tom Horn discussing this on End Times Productions, who brought this video. Um, Definitely check them out. They really always bring out the best stuff, warning videos all the time. So I want y'all to see that.
But the opening ceremony at Gotthard made it clear that these portals are intended to do something else, and that is to release demonic entities. The twin tunnels of the Gotthard base tunnel commence with twin portals on a single track. These northward and southward journeys symbolize the death, birth, death cycle of the green man who dies in the fall and winter and rises in the spring, summer. The tunnel ceremony was all about sex rights and rebirth, leading to a new world order that's a complete reversal of the Judeo-Christian design. This included the triple goddess and the horned god, along with human sacrifice and a return to pagan worship, all of which lie at the center of this nauseating ritual play, which you can probably still watch on YouTube. Dancers dressed as miners climbed this rock face and they dug into the earth, so to speak, to unveil what was beneath the earth, a great machine formed from human arms that rotated and churned into various shapes and designs, many of which resembled the Large Hadron Collider at Cern. Once this opening was achieved, the miners stripped off their orange jumpsuit attire and took up arms. That is, they used staves to perform a dance routine that looked like warfare. It was this forensic dance that aroused a giant. So clearly, the endeavor connected to Cern is far more than Switzerland's braggadocio about an engineering feat. The connection between Cern and ritualistic summoning of a sleeping giant, the horned god of Cernunnos, or even Melkart. Both are types of the rising, dying god. And Melkart slept for half the year, which may be why Elijah told the priests of Baal to call louder because he might be sleeping. Of course, I can only speculate, but I note the connection between Nimrod, Apollo, and Abaddon, Apollyon at Cern, and the history of the region are all highly curious. Apollo was worshipped by the Romans of that area, as well as the Greeks and in central France. Apollo was equated with the Celtic god Atep Omerus. These two characters were combined to create Apollo Atep Omerus, which can be translated as great horseman or possessing a great horse. In the Celtic belief, horses were closely related to the sun. The interesting thing to note is the connection between this idea of Apollo being associated with horses in France, where part of the LHC and Cern resides, and what the book of Revelation states about Abaddon, where it says, "And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon." End quote. I also note that Revelation chapter 9, after describing how these devil worshippers will be judged during the Great Tribulation period, it ends in verse 21 saying, "Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries," which is the Greek pharmakia, "nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts." Now, pharmakia is the word that describes the ancient occultic effort to use mind-expanding drugs during rituals in order to open a doorway for making contact with unseen supernatural entities. So, given these descriptions, is it possible that Cern will have something to do with the opening of the bottomless pit described in Revelation 9?
So now we see that there is a correlation with with Cern, a lot of the what's going on in the world. So we see a lot of that on there. And I just find it funny where just a while ago everybody knew common sense. Now we're actually questioning what's a woman. And in the video you heard when he said a lot of um, disorder, the confusion. Just a few years ago, we could understand that there's a difference, whether you get a surgery or not get a surgery. There's still, there's still a difference. Now we don't know. Now we confused. Now we want to have kids, young kids, as young as 4 or 5, make that decision when they don't really, they're not into it. They don't really know. I also want to show y'all a final video from Cern. I'm gonna share that now. Bear with me, y'all.
Scientists from MIT and elsewhere has used one of the main detectors at the Large Hadron Collider, the so-called Compact Muon Solenoid, or CMS, to track down mysterious X particles, which haven't existed in nature since shortly after the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago. In the first fraction of a second after the Big Bang, the universe was filled with an incredibly hot mixture of quarks and gluons, the main building blocks of matter today. The particles in this quark-gluon plasma briefly stuck together in many different ways before cooling and combining to form the protons and neutrons of ordinary matter. In the confusion before cooling, some of the quarks and gluons collided randomly to form short-lived X particles. For years, physicists have speculated that it should be possible to create X particles in high-energy accelerators such as the LHC, which for brief moments can generate a quark-gluon plasma. Now a definite signal of X particles at the LHC has been found. The team that made the breakthrough used machine learning techniques to sift through more than 13 billion collisions, each of which produced huge numbers of charged particles. Amid this dense, high-energy particle soup, the researchers identified about 100 X particles of a type known as X3872, named for the particle's estimated mass. In fact, this isn't the first time the X3872 has been seen. X3872 particles were actually discovered in 2003 by the Bell experiment, a detector attached to a collider in Japan. But the rare particles decay so quickly that scientists weren't able on that occasion to find out anything about their structure. One possibility is that X particles are a kind of tetraquark, an exotic particle made from a combination of 4 quarks. Another suggestion is that the X3872 is a kind of molecule made not of atoms, but of two loosely bound mesons, particles which are themselves made from two quarks. Over the next year or two, the team behind the new announcement hope to probe the X particle's internal structure by looking in more detail at how it decays. If the X3872 is a tetraquark, it should decay more slowly than if it were a loosely bound molecule. Their ongoing research will hopefully shed more light on the fundamental nature of matter and the type of particle reactions that took place at the dawn of time.
So there we have it. That's the new particle they found, the X particle, and they're not really sure what is it and what it represents. So it is a very it's a very, I don't want to say the word scary, but skeptical that this is just about science. It's just about finding what happened during the Big Bang. And also with the X particle, they want to know during right at the moment at the Big Bang with the X to bring about that type of atmosphere. Now we know after the Big Bang, whenever the world was created, the world was different. The air was different. People lived thousands of years, according to the Bible. So, what type of atmosphere are you trying to usher in? So, we know if you look in the Word of God, destroy this world to create and to bring in another world. Destroy this world's morals and anything that resembles to this world. Let confusion come in and usher in for the other world. It is simple as that. Because Satan can't come into this world with no confusion. He cannot come into this world with morals because it just wouldn't work. It would not work. But if you destroy the patriarch, destroy the morals, just have confusion, let anything go, and I do mean anything, you know, kill your babies even past when they're born, back like what they were doing back then. Yeah, so if then he could come and sit in and nobody won't notice. And the people that do have morals, they're going to be looked at as the bad people. It's all a setup. Because if you already see it's going that way, if you speak out against something, or if you say, well, I don't believe this, you already labeled. Either they're going to label you a racist, they're going to label you a homophobia. They're going to label you a bigot. All those names I just named, that cannot exist in Satan's world. And a racist is not even really a racist. You're racist because you don't agree with certain things that make you a racist, or you're on a different party, or you speak out against abortion. See how that makes no sense? So that's what that is about. And I just thank y'all for hanging out with me. Remember, as always, to keep your eyes open. I always say that. Keep your eyes open because um, there's just too many crazy things that's going on. So keep your eyes open of everything of what's going on, and don't believe so much of the media. You have to do your own research with this, so that I will tell you. And have a good day. I'm out.